Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first in a series of videos we're going to be producing this week for Republican primaries for Cayuga County Legislature seats. And today I have with me one of the candidates, Jeffrey Emerson, who is running for District 3 in the county legislature. District 3 includes Mence, Montezuma, and Troop, which also has the village of Port Byron in it as well. And we're here to learn a little bit more about Jeffrey and why he would like to run for this seat. District 3 is currently held by Ben Vitale, who is going to be running for re-election this year on the Democratic line. And voting, the primary day is June 22nd this year, but early voting starts on Saturday, June 12th, and you can go to the County Board of Elections website to get more information about voting times and places. So Jeffrey, thank you for taking a few minutes to do this for us. And I'm gonna let you lead off by just giving us a little bit of background. Tell us, who you are and why you decided to put your hat in the ring this year for county legislature.
Well, thank you, Jeremy. Reason I wanted to run this year is this is a 2-year term, and I am presently a trustee with the village of Port Byron, and my term will end in 2023. So my feeling was if I ran in 2023 for the village, which the elections are in March, and then turned around and ran for the county legislature in the fall, I would be shortchanging the taxpayers and the residents of the village of Port Byron by doing an election in March and then turning around and going to the county in the fall. So the perfect opportunity for me is right now. That gives all the residents of the village know exactly where we are and in our terms. It's a short term this time around because of the redistricting, and that's another issue. We're not sure how the redistricting is going to phase out during the census period. So we don't know if any one of the 3 townships might be cut from District 3, or if another township might be added.
Right.
We're not sure. So I felt that this was the best time and opportunity for me to put my hat in the ring for the county seat. A little bit about myself. I'm retired or semi-retired. So I have the time and I have the experience being a government official now to move up into the county level. I feel that each step along the way teaches you more and more on how to do budgets, resolutions, solve conflicts. And I think you need that little bit of government experience to move on, because government is a different animal than the public sector. So I'm also the president of the Port Byron Fire Department, and I'm the vice president of the Lock 52 Historical Society. So I have experience in running meetings and knowing, so if there's a committee meeting or such that I'm a chairman of, I would know how to run the meeting properly. And there is a couple of issues that we have in the county. We have lots and lots of waterfront, but we only have one source of water, which is Owasco Lake. That is, after all these years, Cayuga County should be covered with municipal water. And it just being the hub towns, I don't think that brings in industry. It doesn't bring in more residents. So we need the water quality issues that are important. Is there
Excellent.
anything I can?
Yeah, no, that's a great introduction. Just in mentioning your current seat on the Port Byron Village Board, would you intend, if you do win this seat, if you do win this county legislature seat, would you intend to stay on the village board for the next 2 years and serve basically two offices in that way?
I don't know if I can do that or not. I don't know.
It's a good question, because I know it's come up in another race, but it seems a little depending on the seat, the elected seat you're in, whether you can hold 2 or not.
Right. Yeah, I would have to investigate that and see whether or not that's, it can be done or can't be done.
Would you, if you can do it, would you prefer to do that? Or do you think it's a seat you should just stick with one?
Right now, the Village of Port Byron is in very good shape. The trustees there and the mayor, we've worked very hard. Our budget is probably one of the best there is. Our tax rate is low. And if it would be possible, I would stay and serve out my term.
Gotcha. We'll start kind of talking about county government in a broad way. And this kind of, builds off the end of your introduction. In terms of just evaluating county government, you're a county resident, obviously, and you're, you expect services as a resident of Cayuga County. Just give me a sense of how you would evaluate how county government currently is serving our Cayuga County residents, and what kinds of things, what kinds of changes do you think could be needed to do it better?
One of the first things, we've got to get communication. I know COVID has slowed a lot of things down. People can't attend meetings, and like this interview, we're on Zoom. We need to communicate better with our taxpayers. I don't know if it would be feasible for the county to have a newsletter even to go out to the residents every once in a while, telling them the issues that the legislators are contemplating. I know that the administrator position is a thorn in everyone's side. It comes, it goes, they put somebody in, there's issues, they let them go. We pay that salary for the compensation. That is an issue that needs to be addressed. The county is now at a point of budget that it needs someone full-time to run the county on the day-to-day operations. The legislative chairperson absolutely is getting overwhelmed. And this, I know Ms. McNabb Coleman she's probably at her wit's end with everything that's happened this year. I think that help is needed there, but I think it needs to be done not as a appointment by the board, but as an elected position throughout the county.
I was going to ask you about that, and I know that's sort of, I think that's obviously a big issue for the full legislature and for residents. So in what you're describing and is what, I've heard from several, or we've heard from several people, they prefer an elected executive type position. Now, to get to that position, the county has to establish a charter and go through a series of procedures through the state and everything. So that'll take time.
Yes,
and
it's not going to be
a couple of years is what my understanding. So, I mean, what's your thought, if you get it sworn in January of 2022 and you're still looking at a couple of years before you could have an election for an executive, do we continue in the current model to get to that point, or is there some other interim leadership structure that you would prefer to see?
No, I think we need to stay where we're at until we present a person to the entire county voter base as to how they want it to proceed. I mean, we may put a referendum up and the county say no, the taxpayers say no, they don't want an executive. So, I mean, technically it's up to them how they want to proceed. But I think that with the amount of money in our budget now, it needs someone to watch it.
Yeah. And so you're saying stay with the chairman as the chairperson as the day-to-day leader until we get to an elected executive, just to clarify?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Another issue that, there's quite a few probably issues that kind of got put on the back burner during COVID, during the worst of the pandemic, was the county's building infrastructure, especially the downtown county office building that I think I've been asking candidates questions about whether we should refurbish or build a new county office building for about a decade now. It's been that long. And I know, some of the legislators are looking to really seriously address the question and decide on what direction to go. What are your thoughts on that particular issue with the county office building?
One of the things that I've seen and read about is some counties are now buying out their malls because they're emptying out. There's nobody in them. So the counties are buying malls and putting the agencies out in those facilities. And we know there's bus service to them, and we know they're easy to get in and out of. So with the Finger Lakes Mall and the condition it is in, it might be a feasible thing to buy part of the mall even and put the bigger agencies out there so they're spaced out. I know that social services is probably one of the biggest, and they're cramped. It's hard to interview someone that you're not interrupted or somebody walking by you and listening to private conversations. So that's an issue that could be looked at. County office building has been crowded for a long time. So yeah, it needs, the building was built, I believe in the 60s.
Yeah.
So it definitely needs to be looked at.
When you're talking about the mall as an alternative, are you thinking of moving basically the whole operation out there, or is it like kind of freeing up keeping some people in the office building and some people out at the mall?
Yes, both. The office building has its functions and needs to be utilized, but there are agencies that would be better served to the public to be spread out a little more. Gotcha.
Well, you mentioned water quality, and I am intrigued to hear your thoughts on this, because I think you've been pretty active in the exploration of the second water source, looking to Cayuga Lake to have a new water plant and build some infrastructure. Tell us, what your thoughts are about how that should, why that, what's your position on what you would like to see happen and why?
The deep water intake off Cayuga Lake, off Long Point, is a super good idea, and I think we need it. I also think, though, that we need to complete a loop in the water system.
It looks like you may have froze. Let's see.
Cayuga, up through Montezuma, and then around back through Port Byron and back to Troop, so that there will be a complete loop of water. So if there was a break, I use this as for instance, if there was a break in downtown Port Byron, and our commitment to the school system is we have to supply them with water, we would actually have to shut off the water supply going out Route 31 to Montezuma until the break was fixed. If the loop was complete, that water would continue to be flowing to Montezuma because it would be coming up Route 90. So that's my thinking on the water system. The people of Mentz and Montezuma just got a new debt service in 2015 for the new water lines that got put in. If this water system goes in and goes to Union Springs, to Fleming, and into the city or into the water lines at Troop, it's kind of hard to justify a new debt service added to these customers out here when there's that potential for a water break that would shut them down. And that's my feeling on the water system. Gotcha.
So not an easy, certainly not an easy issue to solve. And I'm guessing it takes a lot of money too. Is there a funding approach that you think is best to be looking at when we're talking about all these things?
yes, I think that we need to talk to the federal government because the Montezuma Wildlife Refuge would like potable water. So as you go up in size, the federal government has a lot deeper pockets than our county residents have. So if they want water over there, why couldn't they step in and help us at least build half of the system?
Gotcha. We're hopefully, all things are going in the right direction here with the pandemic lately. But it's helpful, I think, still to look back at the year and a half or year and I guess about 3 months now that we've been through, and just think about how the county has handled it. County government has handled it. What's your thoughts on things that you think went well and things that you think could have been done better in terms of pandemic response, both at the county legislature level and also, with the health department?
I think they got a rock thrown at them by the state. And I think they had to comply more with state, the way they were trying to control everything, than they could on their own locally. Unfortunately, the big cities just about run the state. So when they shut down the big cities, they shut down the small counties too, and the small cities. The vaccination response, I think, was very good in this county. I think they got the first responders early in January, end of December. They got their first shots. I got mine. I think the nursing homes should have been a little more prioritized than they were. But I think with the staff they had and the volunteers they had, they did an excellent job. The Auburn Fire Department helped. I know that a lot of the nursing staff helped, and the county health department, a lot of their staff that doesn't do direct health related issues stepped up to the plate, and they did their share and answered phones and did the contact tracing. So I think county-wise, I think they did the best they could with what they were given to work with from the state.
Gotcha. You mentioned redistricting, and that's a process that's the county could end up doing nothing and leaving everything the same and just recalculating the weighted votes. Or they could look to break things up and try to get the weighted vote system a little more equal, so it's kind of that one legislator, one vote type of thing. Do you have a preference for which kind of end of the spectrum they should be going towards?
I've spoken with Herbie Marshall, who was the county legislative chairman back when they redistricted once before, and he held that he wanted to keep each town in a legislative district, not split townships or and I think that's a good idea. I think every member of a town should know who their legislator is, and not what street I live on tells me who represents me. The overall scheme of the districting and the weighted voting system has been there so long that I don't know if they could change that. One vote, one legislator, and do it that way, or if they've got to do the weighted. It's a toss-up. It really is an issue that needs to be studied very carefully.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on the overall size? 15-member body, is that about right, or should we cut a few or add a few?
I think 15 is a good number because the county is so long and narrow. I think that the representatives from the south end of the county and the north end of the county, they're two different spectrums. Down in the south end with Hans, that's all farm. But when you get to Sterling and Fairhaven, that's more lake. So the issues are totally different. And so that legislator needs to know more about the district than what people in the city do.
Yeah. Let's talk in a two-part question, two potential opponents here, or one certain opponent. In this primary, Lydia Patty Ruffini is the person challenging you. I'm not asking you to sling mud, and I won't ask her to sling mud at you, but I mean, is there anything specifically that you think you stand out, or that you think, viewers should know about her versus you in making this decision?
Well, I'm a true Republican. I've been a Republican since I turned 18 in 1974. I haven't changed parties. I never did anything like that. So I think that conservative Republican is in my blood, and it's been there forever. So I think that's the first issue is I'm a true Republican. The other is the experience, the government experience. I know she's never held an elected office, so starting out right at the county level would put her behind the 8 ball with how things are done. She'd have to do an awful lot of schooling on how issues are dealt with at a government level. That's the two biggest issues is knowing how government functions, and it's very true. Every action in a government runs slow. Nothing happens fast when it comes to government, but you have to stay on top of it all the time to keep it rolling forward.
Yeah. And then Ben Vitale, who, and I should have done my homework ahead of this, but I think this might be his third term he's looking to start, or this being a 2-year term, it's a little quirky, but your thoughts on Ben's performance in this role, in this seat, and how you might be different from Ben.
Ben and I actually went to high school together. We were in debate club together. I like Ben. Ben is a very good guy, but he's been there now enough terms that it's time for change. It's time for a new outlook on how to approach issues. The redistricting, I'm not sure how it would affect his term limits. And it's an issue that it's hard to get an answer on. I believe in term limits. I think that once you've done 2, 3 out, you need new blood to come in and change things. And that's where it comes with Ben. Ben is on the school board in Port Byron. He's on the IDA, I believe, and then at the farmers market. So I'm not sure if Ben can devote as much time as needed to the county level now that we've gotten the budget as big as it is. It needs almost full-time legislators.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to ask you about in terms of this primary, you do have the Conservative Party line, am I correct? So you'll be on the ballot regardless of the outcome of this. You'll be on the general election ballot in November, regardless of the outcome of this primary. What's your intention if you weren't, if you were to lose this primary? Would you actively campaign and still try to win the seat, or would you kind of step back and support Ms. Ruffini to replace Ben?
I'm going to continue on. I also am on the independence line.
Oh, okay.
I got enough signatures to.
Oh, an independent. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Not the Independence Party, because they're no longer a party, but yeah, party. Independent line.
It's my own party, actually. They've got it named under me. So yes, I will continue on because I think we need that experience to move up into the county level.
In terms of the county's committee system, are there specific, you can't serve on every committee, of course, so are there specific roles, committees you'd like to be on, anything you'd like to chair, things like that you could see yourself kind of contributing?
Well, public safety, because the fire departments, then the law enforcement. I was a sheriff's deputy for 10 years back in the 80s and 90s. So I think that's important. And I also think that the fire departments and the EMS system in the county needs to be addressed. We're losing firefighters due to age, and there's no young kids coming up through the system anymore. So the county's going to have to look at fire service throughout the county as to how we're going to deal with that.
Yeah.
So public safety would be the first one on my list.
Gotcha. Well, is there any other issues or questions that I haven't asked that you were thinking I was going to, or I should, as you head in towards the early voting?
Yeah, I think all I ask for is the Republican voters in Mentz, Montezuma, and Troop to come out on the 22nd. I know primaries are one of those elections that are difficult to get people to come out for. In most of the county races, well, in Troop and Montezuma, Lydia and I are the only ones on the ballot. Mm-hmm. And then in town of Mentz, besides us, there's also the town supervisor, and then the Republican committee is also on the ballot. So it's just, I ask that the Republican voters come out either early or on the 22nd.
Come out and exercise your right, make your voice heard. So
yes, definitely.
Well, I appreciate your time, Mr. Emerson, and I wish you good luck in the primary, and we'll certainly be talking to you regardless of the outcome, I'm sure, in the fall. So thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you, Jeremy.